All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are live. And I thank you for tuning into the George Espinlove Show. Whether you're down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world, thank you for taking the time to come in. And we want you to literally come in. We want you to be a participant in the show. Put your comments up. Everybody will see them. Lee will see them. I will see them. Ask questions if you have any. Excuse me. But we want you to be a real participant right here in the show. If you're watching us by the way of YouTube, that little subscribe thingy that's down there, hit that for us, would you? And subscribe to the channel and click on that little bell so you can be notified when our lives come up on YouTube. If you're watching by way of the George Espinlove Show Facebook page, like and follow our page, and you'll be notified every time that we go live by the way of streaming or by the way of radio. So uh, do that for us. The other thing I would ask is please share this with people, send it out near, far, and wide, and we will be deeply indebted to you. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, thank you for lending me both of your ears this afternoon. We have us another thrilling show right here on the George Espinlove Show. But before we go any further, we must, it's an absolute must that we bring Dude on so he can earn his keep. He works 30 seconds every live show we do. So, ladies and gentlemen, here comes Dude. And that is Dude, Lee.
Well, it's so cute. He's so cute.
Yeah. When he gets his tongue just right, you can really tell he's into it. Wow. He came here on the funny farm, oh, I don't know, a couple 3 months ago, and he asked if he could stay, and we said sure. What did you do in the real world? And he said I was a drummer. We said, well, okay, uh, we got a spot for you. You see, everyone that comes to the funny farm from the real world, uh, we are self-sustained here. We allow them to do what they did in the real world. So we have our own police department and our own EMS service, and we're self-sustained here at the Funny Farm. We have our own mess hall, and the whole 9 yards. So, Dude, he found him a place, and every character here at the Funny Farm has a voice. So that was Dude, and we're so glad that Dude is working with us now.
Cute.
Here's a comment from a fellow that's up in Canada. That that farm looks kind of funny behind you. Yep, yep. That's where it all happens, Dak. If I can move out of the way, I got my tractor blocked by my microphone popper. But yep, that's our farm, and we've been here a long, long time, and we just don't feel that we're ever going to leave here because this is our world, and it's a lot safer here in our world than it is in yours. So thanks for hanging with us, Dax. And anybody else that comes on in, just throw your comments up there, and we'll share them with everybody else. We have with us today Lee McNulty out of New Jersey. Lee has a fascinating, documented, very real story to tell us today. And if you've been following us at all, you know that we are big advocates of school choice. Uh, Ed Temple, Christina Laster, The list goes on and on of people that we've had on and that are coming on. Uh, and you all know and you read and you hear every single day things that take place within the public school system across America. We are living in perilous times when it comes to this. And I have said, and I know that Lee will agree with this, if we lose our children, we lost our nation down the street.
Absolutely.
And Lee has written this book, oh my, Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares. When I first saw that, Lee, that title, uh, Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares, I mean, that title, that just jumps out and hits you square between the eyes. How did you come up with that title?
It just like you just said, I was thinking of a title for my book, and if I don't know how far you got into the book, you can see that I had written many letters to governors, all the governors in the state of New Jersey, the senators, presidents, and nobody cares. So I started thinking. I mean, the bottom line to everything is an education. And today, being when I worked as a teacher, they weren't being educated. It was all to just to pass the state exam. Everybody passed. It didn't matter about education. So I'm thinking all we're doing is ruining a nation. And then anybody who tries to do something about it, nobody cares. Obviously, I had to keep my mouth shut because if I'd have said something or did something while I was working, I would have been fired. They would have retaliated.
Don't let the bells and whistles or any of the ding dangs and things that you hear upset you, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, this is the funny farm, and there are bells and whistles and things that go off from time to time around here. So it's normal around here. Lee,
Okay.
let's do this. Uh,
Okay.
give me a time frame. Uh, you taught in this one particular high school for 27 years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Give me a time frame of uh, when you started teaching and so on and so forth, and then lead up until when you submitted your resignation and you said you was going to retire. Could you do that for me?
Sure. I was fortunate enough. I was a machinist by trade, and a friend of mine said there was an opening in one of the schools, so he helped me with a resume. I applied for the job, and I became the metal shop teacher. And at that time, it was pretty good. And after about, I think, 3 years after working there, the state of New Jersey took over the district of Paterson, and they took over the district for several reasons. One was a lot of kids were dropping out. One of the big ones was top heavy in administration. Um, there was a whole bunch of different low test scores for the state exam, and then as time went on and on and on, it just did not become about education. Even the kids' schedule, their schedules were all set up about passing the state exam. And even if they couldn't pass the exam, they would remove certain kids from the class and they would classify them. So there would be less kids that possibly would fail, which in turn would increase the percentage. I mean, it's all smoke and mirrors. So I started documenting all this stuff, not just stuff like that, but I'm talking about the violence, the vandalism, how kids are in the hallways constantly, the swearing, the fighting, walking in and out of classrooms, threatening teachers. So I started documenting this, and as time went on and on and on, I had enough. I really didn't think I was going to retire in the early years, but as I got older and things got worse, so I actually took a leave of absence. I had very good attendance, and I took a leave of absence for a while. And then when you have to submit a paper to explain, you're retiring. And that's what I did. And I made a video of it. I actually, as a video of it, but what I did is I just read the actual paper that I submitted, and I just had enough. And then when I finally did retire, it took me a year to calm down. And you and I and other people have spoke before, I get onto this topic in conversation. Uh, it's a good thing I don't see a doctor afterwards. My blood pressure just goes right up. It's just ridiculous what goes on.
So you finally did retire, and I played that video, part one, on a pre-show thingy this morning. It was about
Okay.
7 minutes long or so, where you read your uh, resignation, your retirement letter. So that was when, around 2000, what, 14?
Yeah, exactly. I think that was because you have to give him, I think it was 60 days. So off the top of my head, that had to be somewhere around the end of April of 2014.
What? So during all these years, you were documenting things, and your book is exactly like a journal. Uh, very, very interesting. You've got newspaper things in there, and letters, and all kind of goodies and stuff that's in there. So you actually started a couple 3 years into your teaching career, uh, documenting these things.
Yeah.
With When was the first time that you approached some administrative person about what was going on in the school? I mean, was that in those 2 or 3 years, or was it 5 years?
No, 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 no. Pretty much, I pretty much sat back and I watched and I listened, and I know a few people who had spoke up, and they did retaliate against them. So I knew enough to keep my mouth shut. And even the very last year that I worked, the principal that was the principal that was there at that time, he was just he just allowed the school to be out of control, and he and I, uh, we were butting heads for a while, and I knew enough to keep my mouth shut because I said I had enough. I'm going to retire, and I didn't want to have to take a chance of losing my pension. And that's what most teachers. If you talk to any teacher, and not just where I work, throughout the country, they're going to keep quiet because they put in all that time. It's not that they're not trying to do their job, to do the best they can, but you want some. You work towards your pension, and the district, the superintendents, and they'll just get rid of you, and you put all that time in, and you're gone.
Does does the teachers union, uh, the national union or the state union, uh, would they try to protect you in any way?
You will find when you get later on into the book, the local teachers union. And in New Jersey, it's called the NJEA, New Jersey Education Association. So I guess whatever state you're in, let's say you're in Pennsylvania, I'm it'd probably the Pennsylvania PA EA. But I also contacted the NEA, which is in Washington, and I sent them actual documents, and they're in the book. The letters and emails, everything that I sent to these people are in the book, and they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing.
So here's my question, and this is no detriment on you or anyone else. Like I already said, we hear, we read almost every day of something taking place that's not good in a lot of public schools across the nation. And I hear the same thing. The teachers, there's good teachers that want to teach, that it's from their heart they want to teach. It's their profession, it's their calling. But yet they're intimidated, they're leaned on, sometimes they're even extorted. Uh, but nonetheless, And then I sit back and I wonder, I understand that people are fearful of losing their job.
Correct.
My big question has always been this: isn't it going to take something from within? I mean, like an eruption from within to cause some major change with this animal? Like the teachers, uh, are is do you think that anyone's ever going to say, I've had enough. We've had enough. We're not going to put up with this, and we're just not going to do it no more. We're not going to be intimidated. We're not going to be leaned on no more. We're going to clean this up. Do you ever see that happening, Lee?
No, no. Like I
Uh,
said, of all the years I worked there, the few teachers that did speak up or brought things to attention, they retaliated against them. I'm trying to think of an example. Um, I'll give you an example. Somewhere, I forget what year it was. It's probably somewhere in the 2000. Two students walked into a classroom that they did not belong into, and students are supposed to have ID cards either on their lapel or on their or around their neck, and they didn't have them. The teacher asked them to leave. And the kids start swearing and cursing at them. Make a longer story short, one kid ended up uh, pretty much body slammed her to the ground. And when she hit the ground, she chipped a tooth. And at the same time, and I have the documents, I have the school documents from security and the police in the book, while another kid tried to set her hair on fire with a cigarette lighter. Now, that's what I'm telling you is terrible in a sense. And there's more to it than that. But not one student got up to help the teacher. And you know what? There's always teachers in the hallway. And I even put that in the book. And I said, I wonder how many other teachers or anybody else in the hallway saw this and did nothing. But yet they're afraid that there'll be retaliation against them. And again, it's in the book, and I spell it out really very clearly and slowly. And it's just ridiculous. It's just absolute. And it was hushed up. It was never in the newspapers.
where these things would happen, uh, was there law enforcement people at the school, or some kind of security, or when these things happen? I mean, was there
I
video?
know, George, I know what you're asking me, and the answer is yes. We've always had security people in the building. I don't know how many, but I would say at least a dozen. But even when that incident, what I'm telling you, that was sometime in 2000. Off the top of my head, and this is just a guess, I don't remember. I'm going to say around 2005, 6, 7, or 8, something like that. Somewhere around let me see, 94, I think, we had police, 6 uniform armed police in our building long before what went on in where was that, in Rhode Island or Connecticut, Sandy. And they said, you got to have armed teachers and armed police. We
Mhm.
had them in our building long before that. But getting back to the point of the story I told you, the reports, the documents that I submit in the book, you're going to see police reports from the Paterson Police Department and the security. They're the actual documents. A lot of teachers knew what I was doing. I had few teachers that I let them know what I was going to do, and they would sneak things to me. Be under my. I'd find it on my desk, or I'd get bumped into, and something would drop, and they walk. I pick it up. Make a long story short, other teachers, again, they knew I was going to do it, but they weren't going to do it. So I waited till I retired to open up my mouth.
When these things were documented by the police department, or other people that was called in on whatever situation it might be, where I mean, you gained access to them, but how do you sweep something like this under the rug for so long of a period. I mean, how can they do that?
Good question. Uh, Bottom line is they've been doing it. They still do it. Um, I was on another radio show a while back, and I gave them some information after I retired. And one teacher was literally body slammed, thrown to the floor, and it was roughed up. And again, the kids, I believe this was a setup because it was the entire thing from start to finish was caught on video. And I was already retired at that time. And a couple of students that I knew contacted me and sent me the video, and I gave it to the news media. And this incident happened on a Monday or a Tuesday. I happened to have to be at a function for school choice in Jersey City on Friday, and I was told to keep my mouth shut, not to bring it up. To make a long story short, that Friday, because I got the information out, and then the news media got on it, that kid was finally arrested. Later on, it turned out this was not the first time that teacher was attacked. That was the second time that year, and he was also attacked, from what I understand, the year before. The point is, to answer your question, there's two more times. Plus, if I didn't get the information and I didn't get it out to the media, there would have been three times that teacher was attacked, and nobody would know anything about it. And as I say in the book over and over, and I don't mean to keep like I'm pushing my book. I'm just saying I say this over and over. Everything in the book is what I know to have gone on, and I can prove it. But what else is going on that I don't know, especially on a forced, you have a basement and 3-floor building. It's almost like a city block. It's a huge school. It would have anywhere from, I'd say, 2,200 students to just under 4 grand students.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of kids.
Cassandra from Arkansas said the discipline should start at home so things like this won't happen. Oh my. Yes, indeedy.
Well, I can go back and forth on that. I would say years ago, I would agree with her. However, um, again, teachers are blamed for everything, and they keep their mouth shut because if you're a non-tenured teacher, you have to be evaluated several times throughout the years for 3 years, in order to keep your job. And then again, even as a tenured teacher, you're still evaluated. And if you open your mouth and say things and they don't want them out, you're going to get a poor evaluation, and you may not be asked you'll be asked to leave, or they'll want you out or put you up on some sort of charges. But the point I want to make, the administration will always say teachers are responsible for having control of their classroom. Well, how in the hell is a teacher supposed to have control of their classroom if the administration does not have control of the building? That's the bottom line.
I have said countless times when we've discussed this public school mess on this show that somewhere along the line, Lee, somebody going to have to dig their heels in the ground and say, enough is enough. Uh, Here's what it reminds me of. I'm an old guy. I'm 71 and a half years old now. So I come from the old school. Uh, I tell the kids we used to go to school and our blackboard was the cave walls. They'd look at me like I got two heads. But this is what it reminds me of. These teachers' unions, these administrators, the bureaucrats, and the list goes on and on and on. It reminds me like a bully in the schoolyard. I grew up in the city. I grew up in the schoolyard, and on any one given night when the weather was nice, you'd have 50, 60, 70 kids of all different ages hanging out in the schoolyard. That's where everything was settled. And yeah, you had bullies. They remind me of bullies in the schoolyard, uh, where they'll pick on the weak, they'll pick on the young, uh, they'll pick on those ones that they can intimidate until someone hauls off and busts them right square between the eyes. I know that's not politically correct, but I'm not either. But somewhere along the line, somebody going to have to dig their heels in. If or do you think that we're too far gone in the public school system to even begin to save it?
Yeah, I think we're too far gone because again, it's all about statistics. It's all about students, and again, it's not all students. I don't want anybody to misunderstand that every student in the school I worked in was horrible. Absolutely not.
Right.
But it was just out of control where you'd get good kids turning into bad kids. But the bottom line is, with teachers, they're going to keep quiet. It's not like to dig their heels in, and they know it's right and they know what's wrong. But for the most part, they have families, they have mortgages, they have bills, they got car payments. What are they going to do? Open their mouth and take a chance, and then all of a sudden, yeah, foul up their family. Next thing you know, they're divorced. Just one thing after another. So they're going to keep quiet and do the best that they can.
So if it's too if it's if it's too far gone, what do we do? Let it crash and burn? And what's the result of that going to be?
Well, it's pretty much the result right now. It's pretty much the result right now of what's going on just in our country with other laws and stuff. Everybody's got excuses for this and that and the other thing. I mean, you gotta have rules and you gotta have laws. You have to abide them. And with anything good as well as anything bad, you have to have consequences. And if you're not gonna have consequences with things that are bad or things that are illegal or things not following the rules. All you're gonna have is chaos, and that's exactly what is in the school. Absolute chaos.
Well put. Well put. Tell me about some of these politicians, governors, senators, congressmen, uh, local uh, local bureaucrats in and around and near you. Tell me uh, some of their reactions to things that you said.
It's funny you should say that. Right after I retired, I went and saw a senator that's in charge. That's I don't know if you call it in charge, but overall, Paterson. And I sat down with this person. I sat down and spent probably a good hour or so. And I brought quite a bit of information, again, that's in the book. And I explained everything. And we talked and talked. And this senator was very was upset and said, "Look, I will call you in a month and I want you to come back and we'll talk again." So about not a little bit more than a month, maybe 5 weeks or so, I got a phone call. I don't know if it was the chief of staff or the secretary. I came back in, and the first thing out of their mouth was, "Mr. McNulty, don't get upset with me, but I have to ask you this: um, Is everything that you gave me the truth?" And I said, I said it was, and my exact words, I says, "It's the gospel." I says everything is the truth. I said I'm also writing a book, and it's everything that you have is already in my book. And the senator goes, "I find everything disturbing." And in fact, he says I was laying in bed, and I'm reading it, and I could not believe what goes on. Make a long story short, didn't disagree with me at all. Nothing. Oh, the one question was, why didn't I go and speak to the superintendent of schools? That was one of the questions I was at. And I go, "Are you kidding me?" I says, "You're going to tell me he doesn't know what's going on?" I said, "Everybody's following his directions." So again, yeah, ruining it. Nobody cares. Bottom line, the last part of the book, the title, nobody cares.
Was there any positive thing that came out of that meeting with that man? I mean, he was disturbed, but was there any
No,
action?
no,
No.
no action after I left. That's exactly what happened. I left. That was it.
Wow. Wow.
And then a few months later, um, I contacted Bob Bowden of Choice Media in Hoboken, and I met with him. and he interviewed me, and that interview really like I would say the doo-doo hit the fan. And but again, I mean, there's well over 1 million views on that. Again, nothing's done. In fact, I just came to my mind right now. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine, one of the guys I worked with, just retired in January, and we were talking about this thing and that thing about school. And he goes, Lee, I want to let you know, because if you think school was bad when just before you left, he goes, it's worse. So again, all this information that I put out there, videos and interviews and on TV and this, that. I mean, all your politicians know what's going on. And you know what? You're going to show any one of the videos that I have, and you look on the right side of YouTube, and you got all these videos going all the way down, page after page, and they're all about the same thing that I'm talking about, not in New Jersey, but throughout the entire country, and some are out of the country, in the UK and all over. But
Mhm.
again, you're going to tell me our politicians don't know this, but yet when it comes time for election, one of the things? Oh, we're gonna straighten out education. They caused the problem. Now they want to straighten out and still do nothing about it.
Do you feel, Lee, that there's a cycle that runs, uh, and that inside that circular cycle is a thing called money, uh, that's circulated from this party to that party, back again to this party to this party. Uh, do you think that has a big deal to do with this whole morass
I,
we find ourselves?
that I don't know, but I know education, public education, is about money. It's about funding. No matter how much money they get, they need more. They want more. But yet, if you take a business, any factory, any business that produces a product, and
Mhm.
if they produce a bad product, that business shuts down. But
Right.
yet, the public school system, especially many in the inner cities, they keep wanting more and more money, but yet the kids are graduating, but they could hardly write their name. I had one kid that was a freshman. Now, granted, he was a freshman. I had him fill out a form. He goes, I don't know where I live. I don't. He knew where he lived, but he didn't know how to spell his address. It's just ridiculous. So it is all about funding, and if the school has a lot of problems, a lot of discipline problems, if the students are not doing well with testing, state testing, and all these other little things, the state will pull back on the money. So what do? They jerk around with the numbers and lie. In fact, it's funny that another thing. I think last week the superintendent of the Paterson Public School District right now last week received, I think it was 19,000 and some odd dollars as a bonus because certain things had gone up. I made a comment to the newspaper article. Why should anybody get a bonus for anything for doing their job?
Right. Right. Do you it it it's just enough to make you shake your head, split and splutter for lack of words, when you see these things that's taking place. Some of the other politicians, uh, some of them you wrote letters to. I assume that you didn't get no answers back, or that you.
Well, unfortunately, let me clarify with that. Majority of the letters until I retired, I used a pseudonym. And again, the actual letters are in the book, and I used the pseudonym Zorro. But I made it clear if they send somebody in, if somebody would investigate, make some sort of noise that they're in here to check, that I would come forward and let them know that it was I that wrote these letters. And I'm not talking a letter where there's a couple of sentences or a couple of paragraphs. I'm talking pages and pages along with documentation.
Wow, wow. How is it Now you said the state took over this particular district when 1991 or 1994 or something,
87, 89. I think in 1990 or 91.
and they
And they're
still
still and they're still and they're still there today.
how 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 in such a mess. And you mentioned kids can't read, kids can't spell, and I know that for a fact uh, because I deal with a lot of young people. I would be going somewhere and I'd have a young person with me, and I'm an avid reader, and I'd always have something to read, and just out of the blue, I'd hand them whatever I was reading, and I was saying, and I'd point to the paragraph while I'm driving. I'd hand them whatever the material was, and I'd say that paragraph right there, read it to me and help me understand it. Lee, it, it, I don't need to tell you, and I
No.
probably don't need to tell a whole lot of other people. It was terrible. It was enough to actually make you cry. It
And
really,
you cannot get mad at the kid. Yeah,
no,
some people can say, well, the parents should have done this and parents should have done that. Well, you know what? We can come up with a whole bunch of things, but the bottom line is everybody passes. That kid should have. I mean, how do you get? I'll sum it up this way. For years, the first couple of days when we would start the new school year, it would be just teachers and administrator, and we'd go to our respective departments and we'd have meetings. And at one time or another, every year, the following question would come up to the administrator, to the principal.
we
Do
lost them.
what when our students don't have maybe a fourth and a fifth grade education, now they're in high school and we got to put 12 years of schooling in, and the administrator go fourth to fifth grade, try more like second to third grade. So it's the district that's just pushing these kids through the system. That's the bottom line. They're just pushing them. You can get mad at the kid and the kid whatever want, but the school district is pushing the kids through the system, and the kids are not getting an education. And let's be realistic. If I was them and I knew I was going to graduate and I didn't have to do anything, I
Hmm.
wouldn't.
Hmm. Hmm. Sad, sad, sad,
But true.
but true.
Sad but true.
Yes,
And that's what's going to ruin the nation. How is a nation supposed to be strong when the citizens are illiterate?
yes. I said in our pre-show this morning that this show this afternoon was going to be reality in your face. Uh, and the things that we're talking about is certainly reality in your face, isn't it, Lee?
Very much so. I want to put something out there for anybody who thinks that I'm lying or has looked at the book or knows anything about me and thinks that I'm not telling the truth. Again, my book's been out for several years. I did file a complaint federally. I did file a complaint with the state. If I am so wrong and if I'm lying and I have all this documentation, which I shared with everybody, why wasn't I sued?
Right, right. There's been no retaliation against you.
No, no. And I figured that out as well. Typical political movement. If you ever watch any politician, when something bad happens to them and it comes out and the media is hammering and hammering and hammering them, they keep quiet because it'll go away.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going away.
You, you're a man after my own heart, Lee. Don't go away. Don't
The
go away.
only way I'm leaving is the man upstairs says it's time for me to go home.
That's right. Until it's time to go home, be a nemesis. A nemesis.
Right.
Just be just be there. I mean,
Yeah.
just be there. What amazes me is this continually goes on and on and on, and it's not just there in the state of New Jersey. It's like we
No.
all said, it's across America. It's across America. Uh, and it's just like somebody. I've said this before. I'll say it again. It's like somebody kicked open the barn doors, took the bridle off the horse, and left the horse run wild.
Yeah.
and there they go, gone. Uh, what did some of these administrators, the bureaucrats, or the chief huckamuckas in the school district that you were a part of after you retired? None of them has ever retaliated, or I mean,
No.
you get the whispers in the back, you get the strange looks from different people, but no one's ever no one's ever said he's definitely wrong. We're going to drop a hammer on him.
No, no. In fact, I confronted sometime after the one video came out. I confronted face to face with their superintendent, and then several months later, in June, he was leaving. I guess that would be June. I'm going to say 2000. I don't. I forget what year. I don't even want to say the right year. I confronted him and the entire board of education. I went to a board of education meeting, and that is one of my videos. It's called Ruining a Nation, Nobody Cares. And I think it's part 6, where I confront the entire Board of Education and basically call them liars. And I asked, they said they did an internal audit and that everything that I said was, they never said I was wrong or lying. They would use the political word unfounded. Well, there's an old military rule. If it's not written down, it never happened, and that's what they do.
Uh-huh.
But I asked them this following question. I said, how can a district that I made a claim against do an investigation on themselves? That would be like Nazi Germany investigating their war crimes. And that's exactly pretty close to what I said at the meeting. And it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, and you can go to YouTube to to Lee's channel. That's Lee McNulty. That's McNulty, and you can see all the parts there. Uh, my man, when you walked into that when you walked into that board of education meeting, or whatever it was, uh, that was like Daniel walking into the lion's den. But good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
Uh, that's what we need. That's what I'm talking about. Uh, that's what we need more of. Uh, you know, we're all going to get out of this world. My cousin always tells me nobody's getting out of here alive.
I say that every day.
Yeah, nobody's getting out of here alive. So, man, you might as well go for what you're going for, uh, because you're just not going to get out of here alive. Some of these things, it just blows me away to hear and realize. Even as we speak, it's like 4:43 here on the East Coast. So out on the West Coast, it's 1:43, and so on and so forth as you come across the country. Uh, Even as we speak, there's things taking place in the schools,
Yeah.
in the districts across the nation.
And they're being hushed up.
I just
They're being quiet. It's not being documented. They don't want what really goes on known.
has any students, uh, your students, people that sat under your teaching, uh, has any of those over the years come out and said, Mr. McNulty, you're just not telling the truth? Has any one of them ever done that?
No, in fact, the opposite. The very first time I was interviewed again by Bob Bowden, there are many students saying that they're so proud of me. You kept your promises. I told all the kids, I says, when I leave this place, I'm going to let everybody know what's going on there. And there's just so many of the students that had nothing but praise and thank you for doing this.
Wow. Unfounded. Uh, yeah, that's a good military thing. If it's not written down, it never
It
happened.
never happened.
You're so right. Unfounded. Didn't drop the hammer on you in any way out there.
No.
Students You taught there for 27 years, and none of the students came with negative reports about you.
No.
Uh, but yet this thing just keeps chugging along. Uh, People keep feeding the animal, and it just keeps chugging along. Like you
Yeah.
said, that your friend said, it's worse now than it was before.
Yeah. It's a shame. You and I had a conversation. I think it was today, but we did have a conversation at one time. I said, what really irks me. Well, there's so many things that irks me, but in the state of New Jersey, if you own a house, you got to pay property taxes, and in the state of New Jersey, property taxes are really very high. 66% of that money that people pay on their property taxes go to education. Are you kidding me? And I'm telling you what's going on, and people are gonna allow this to go on. 66%. That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and that's good money being thrown into the same sewer system time after time after time after time.
Me and several other teachers used to call it the money pit.
Yeah.
Public education is nothing but a money pit.
Mm. Cassandra said, I thank God for the small town school district my children went to school in. Every child matters, and the teachers were awesome. The teachers definitely wanted to make a difference and educate our children. There are some good places out there that's doing some good things. Uh, and Lee had already mentioned that. You know, there are some fantastic teachers out there in the classroom that are giving it all the grit and gusto they can muster to
Not
make.
only that, I don't mean to interrupt you, George, but many teachers, especially the teachers that I worked with,
Mhm.
will take money out of their pocket and buy supplies
Yes,
for the
absolutely.
school and to give kids this, that, and whatever they need. I worked with so many extremely generous, good-hearted teachers, and it has nothing. I want to make this clear: that has nothing to do with race, especially in the inner city. I would say, as a whole, in the school that I worked with, I would say 99% of the teachers were fantastic, and they would do anything and everything to help a kid.
Fantastic teachers across the nation uh, that goes and sucks it up and does it right every single day of the school year. Uh, and then for all these other things that take place. Lee, uh, let me see if I can bring this thing up here real quick. Uh,
Okay.
it's about 3 minutes and 3 seconds. Let's run this real quick.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lee McNulty. Today I'm going to read an excerpt from my book titled Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares, which is my journal, a personal diary of 30 years, or almost of 30 years, of being a teacher at John F. Kennedy High School in Paterson, New Jersey, a high school in a school district that was taken over by the state of New Jersey in 1991, and they're still running and operating the district today. All right. This entry is about one of my students being held up, robbed at knife point for her cell phone. December 9th, speaking with one of my female students, it seems yesterday, December 8th, she was robbed in school of her cell phone. She gave it up because the girl had a knife. Now, as far as we both know, no charges were pressed. The girl was suspended. My student asked for paperwork to report pertaining to her being robbed. She said the administration didn't know if they're going to give it to her and don't know if they're going to press charges. What does that have to do in giving her a copy of the report? The next question is, what is there to think about? A student was robbed. The robber had a knife. This was in school. Why is the school district so against pressing charges? I think that the administration did not want to give her the report in attempts from keeping her and family from pressing charges.
My student also said it seems this girl who robbed her also had drugs on her. She also said this is the second time she was robbed in school. The first time happened last year in the cafeteria. Think about it, in the cafeteria, a place loaded with students, witnesses, security, and supposedly an administrator. But the students are not afraid to rob someone for their phone. Why? Because they know the administration will hush it up and they will only be suspended. Suspended. A vacation where the days out do not count against their attendance, as if attendance truly counts for anything here anyway. Unfreaking believable. Who in their right mind would send their children here if they really knew what goes on inside here? I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be back real soon with more video readings from my book, Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares, which can be purchased on Amazon.com. Please remember, all profit will be donated 50-50 between St. Jude's Children's Hospital and Children's Education in Paterson, New Jersey. I thank you so much. You'll be seeing me again real soon.
Wow.
And I've been in touch with her. Believe it or not, she's a teacher.
Oh, she's a teacher now.
She's a teacher, not in that district. I won't tell you what district she's in, but I had her, and I had her sister as well.
You know, the last part that you said, and then I'm going to bring up your book here. The last part that you said is you're not receiving any of the profit from this book. 50% of it's going to St. Jude's. The other 50% is going for education there to the kids in that district. That sure knocks that thing out where somebody could say, well, he was just a disgruntled employee and he had a bone to pick and he just wants to make big money. I guess that shot that right off the roof, didn't it?
Yeah, I make it very clear. I don't know what'll happen tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. Sometimes things take a long time. But if this should ever turn into a movie and it made $1 million, I won't take a penny. The only money that I want is the money that I invested to getting this book published and, edited and what have you. I don't want a penny. I did not do this to make money. I did this to get a point out and to make things better.
Wow. I like that. Ladies and gentlemen, Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares. I don't know if there'll be too many people that will forget this title. It's just burned into the recesses of your brain housing group. Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares. And Lee, how many pages is this?
Off the top of my head, it's a very large book. It's about 400, I'm going to say 80 pages. Now, what that book has is roughly 1/3 what it originally was. I had to get it down. I had so much information, and again, which makes me dangerous. Information makes a person dangerous, but I put the most important things in there that should grab you. In fact, I have a friend of mine bought the book, and he says he can only read about 8 pages, 9 pages at a time. He has to put it down because he gets so aggravated. He goes, he knows that I told him stories, but when he reads it and the way it's formatted, he has to put it down. He gets so furious.
Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares. Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares. I hope that resonates in our minds and goes deep into the recesses of our souls. Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares. You can get it at Amazon.com. You just type that in there. Ruining a Nation, Nobody Cares, or type Lee's name in there, and I'll guarantee you that it will pop right up. Ruining a Nation. Come on, Espinlab, get it right here. Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares. My goodness gracious. Lee, I thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please go to YouTube. Just go into the search box, Lee McNulty, McNulty. Right there it is on the bottom of the screen. Go to YouTube and watch those. What is there? 6 parts, Lee, to
Yeah,
that.
there's 6 parts, and there's another video that was put out by Choice Media, about 13 minutes long.
So go there and I'm telling you, and then do this. Go get his book at Amazon.com. What it the paperback is 20 bucks and the Kindle form is 10, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And so I'm telling you, it can open your eyes to a lot of things, get you stirred up. We need to start looking in the right direction and hearing the right things, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this opened your eyes this afternoon, and people are going to continue to watch this as the days and weeks go on. Lee, thank you so much, man. Let's do this again, all right?
I would love to. Thank you so much, George.
I really enjoyed it. I thank you because I know you're a very busy man. I hope your blood pressure will come back down now.
You have no idea. I can feel it in my eyes.
Go sit down and prop your feet up, or take a big deep breath, whatever you do to bring that thing down.
Yeah.
But I always tell people this. Sometimes people get tired of me saying it, but I always say this: if I can hear somebody's heartbeat, I know they're for real. I hear your heartbeat, Lee.
Thank you, George.
I hear your heartbeat. I tip my hat to you. You have taken on a task. I believe it's a calling. I really believe. I believe it's a calling. And I wish you the best of luck, and I pray God will keep you right in the center of his hand. So
thank you so much, George. That's very nice of you to say.
Let's stay in touch, and we're going to do this again. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen. Mr. Lee McNulty. Wow, out of New Jersey. Get that book. Let me shoot it up here one more time. Right there it is. Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares. You can go to Amazon.com. None of the proceeds, none of the profits are going into Lee's pocket. Half of it's going to St. Jude's. The other half is going to the district where he's going to be distributing the money to help educate the young people there. I think that is I think that's commendable. I really do. So get that book and go to YouTube, look up Lee McNulty, watch those videos, and do me another favor. While you are, or when we get off the air, start a watch party. Because most of you know what that watch party does. That watch party gets this video out into your news stream where your friends and family are, where we can't reach all the time. So you help us get it out there, and then ask them to start a watch party, so on and so forth. And pretty soon it's circulating all over the place, and people are being made aware of what's going on. So please do that for us. I thank each and every one of you for taking the time this afternoon. But before we leave, I've got to do this for our friends out of Warren, Pennsylvania, and the White Cane Coffee Company.
Providing a great cup of coffee and a better life for the blind and disabled. White Cane Coffee, because every cup makes a difference.
And if you want good coffee, you can order. Just go to Facebook and look up White Cane Coffee. That little girl that was doing the speaking, she was on our show, on our radio show. She is 95% blind, and her and her family started White Cane Coffee in Warren, Pennsylvania. So go to Facebook, White Cane Coffee. You can order. We order here, and it is some good stuff. They've got all different kind of brands and all that stuff. But White Cane Coffee on Facebook. You can go right to their business page and get you some, and they'll ship it right to your house. Well, here we go. We're leaving. So one more time, thank you, Lee. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, George,
for tuning in. Remember tonight at 8 p.m., Maxine's Chatterbox she will be having her own live stream show tonight. So make sure you tune in. We'll get something up there posted real most Ricky Tick so you can see where it's at and what's going on. So until then, wherever you're at, if it's nighttime, have a great night. If it's daytime, have a wonderful day. But regardless of where you are and where you're at, whether it's down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world, I just trust and pray that you'll be kind one to another, love one another, give somebody a pat on the back, smile at them, and don't ever be afraid to say, I love you. You could possibly save a life by saying that and mean it. So I trust that God will keep you right in the center of his hand. From me and all the gang here at the Funny Farm, I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.